upload. Alrighty, so let's see. Let me make sure I have people added. Okay, welcome everyone to another episode of SEO Fight Club. Sorry, it's another uploaded episode, not a live stream. Remo is still having issues streaming direct to YouTube, which is a real bummer. So it looks like I definitely have to switch to Zoom. So that's a bummer, but I'll look into that this week and we'll get migrated to Zoom for next week.
Maybe we should put Dre in charge of video production.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
You looking for an extra job that pays nothing?
We should put Dre in charge of everything. Producing the show.
I can see I wonder how the integration works. I can look into it and see.
Yeah.
Get all these nice effects.
Ooh.
See.
Kyle, I heard you were scared of horror movies.
Somebody's got some new toys.
Dre goes evil. All right, so let's go through some boilerplate. So today we're going to talk about a new negative SEO attack vector, one that in all of this horrible COVID awfulness and with all the grief I've been dealing with lately, this one really made me giggle a lot. So I hope you guys like today's topic too. So Clint, what can people expect on SEO this week?
This week, 3 stories and 2 tools. Tools are pretty cool. One to help with your prospecting a little bit. Just be careful on how you use it, and I go over that in the show. And then we continue the site audit on that lawyer site. This time we look specifically at some on-page stuff and how I approach that. And then we talk about keyword cannibalization and a whole bunch of other questions from the audience. So it's a good show.
Very cool. And Dre, what's coming up on your show?
What's up, everyone? On the SEO video show this week, I have Carlos Spalarosa. He is the director of SEO at L'Oreal. And did you know that they actually own skincare.com and makeup.com? So he manages all that on the SEO front. So I'm curious to see how he manages all that stuff. We'll find out on Friday.
Wow, what a killer contact to have on the show. I mean, that interview's gonna be like awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait because like I was doing because I do research on my guests, and I was like, holy moly, this guy actually runs makeup.com, skincare.com, and I was like, this is gonna be a good one.
Well, I imagine that some of the nugget drops in that interview are going to be huge for anyone doing like cosmetic Amazon affiliate websites.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing like Amazon affiliate, you probably don't want to miss this show. It's probably going to be an absolute goldmine. And I would definitely attend and throw all of your affiliate SEO questions at them. You know, how would you do this type of product? How would you handle this type of category scenario? You know, what would you target for, you know, best margins within this category? You know, the wealth of knowledge that you'll be able to draw out of an SEO like that should be just off the chart. So, yeah, definitely check out that show. And check out SEO This Week. Both of these shows you can find on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and search on YouTube for the show name. SEO Video Show for Dre's show and SEO This Week for Clint's show. And remember, SEO content on YouTube is about enough advertising revenue for a free cup of coffee a couple times a month. So we really do it as a labor of love. And the thing that makes it worth our while is the community building, networking. and we live or die based on your feedback, your engagement, and most of all, your subscriptions. So please help us make free, awesome content for SEO. All you have to do is subscribe. It's totally free and it means the world. So go find SEO this week. Go find the SEO video show and show your support for SEO content. So, Lauren, what's coming up on IMG?
Yeah, so if you are an IMG tester, there is a secret meeting tonight that you can attend, but that's not on there because it's secret. If you're not a tester, you can join us on Friday for the SEO Pro Tip. You can also join us for the announcement of who is going to win this $1,000 one-year license giveaway to Supermetrics. If you haven't commented on the thread, definitely be sure to do so because that's a big one. And then on Tuesday, we have an AMA with you, Ted.
Awesome. And I'll be at this one. Last one had to cancel last minute because of a sick dog. Had to take him to the vet. So I apologize for that to everyone who was at the last one I was running. So I look forward to getting your questions this week. In fact, everybody gets one free question in addition to the normal free question. So 2 free questions, bring them, come ready. All right.
Bonus question?
Yep. Bonus question. All right, let's get into this. I'm going to turn my camera off. Okay, so this week's topic is a new negative SEO attack vector. So where this came from on October 8th, so just about a week ago, there was an article about Gary Iles in an interview where he was talking about what caffeine is. And so in that interview, he gives an amazing amount of detail about how that part of the Google ecosystem works. It is a mind-boggling reveal of, some of the core components of indexing in Google. And so it's amazing. But in one moment in it, he said something that just made my jaw drop. He said that if you have an article about indexing issues where you're talking about soft 404 pages and things like that, it can be very hard to get those pages indexed because Google sees the text about the soft 404s and then thinks the page is a soft 404 and then de-indexes the page. And so if you have content about those issues, it's very hard to get those issues, those pages to index. And that boggled my mind because that is like the biggest negative SEO attack vector we've heard about in like 10 years. It's like the biggest news ever if this works. And, on one side, Google has kind of earned a lot of animosity from me from their lack of transparency. And I've noticed in their recent events where they have online conferences and in-life conferences, those recent events, they've been profoundly more transparent than they have been in past years. And I know that Martin Split and Paul Haar and now Gary have been but more transparent than they've ever been in the past regarding technical details. They're starting to leak more information about how things work. And that's really to be applauded. Like that makes me want to take a big step back towards being a Google fanboy, which is where I started in the early days of Google. And then they lost me with their plausible deniability, their culture of penalties, and their lying about the facts. And they did a lot of, smoking man from the X-Files type behavior, and they really lost me in a lot of other SEOs. And so now seeing them come back is a great thing, except I think Gary went too far. Like, one thing I would expect Google to never share is how to weaponize Google, how to de-index somebody else's web page. And that's what happened here. And so maybe it was a mistake on Gary's part. Like maybe probably shouldn't have done that, regrets doing it, and probably won't do it again. But if not, wow, this is going to be cool. Did you have?
It's hard to see, Ted, as a mistake when you listen to it. The whole podcast that they're putting together feels very scripted to me. It didn't seem off the cuff. It seemed that they were intentionally doing this.
Well, I think it was related to the topic. Maybe it was his example of the complexity or how it could go wrong. But I mean,
it's a podcast they control, and it wasn't done live, so it's not like it wasn't that it accidentally slipped out and there was no way for them to edit it. I mean, it was what it felt to me as a scripted podcast, and then they edit it and then it goes live, so they feel comfortable giving this information.
Well, the mistake was he didn't know to not do that. Like, he didn't know it was a mistake when he did it. I mean, he'll know it's a mistake after he sees what I show you, but he didn't know. And so I think in the fullness of time, it'll be viewed as a mistake. But you're right. He could have taken it out before they published it.
And in the interest of fairness, I think we as SEOs beat them up constantly and talk about, they don't give all the right information, et cetera, et cetera. And then when they try to do that, we also, we turn around and say, "Oh, you made a mistake. Why did you do that? You're going too far." I mean, at some point, I don't think at human nature, they're like, "Jesus, what the hell do you want from us?" You know what I mean? So, like to Kyle's point, they probably listened to it. They thought it was innocuous, and I think your testing will show that it's not, but it's not something that they think anyone is actually going to try to do, perhaps, or in an interest of helping someone, they actually gave it a thing that you can actually use to hurt someone. So, and then I have to balance that out. And what does that mean? Does that mean that they stop giving more honest insight answers of the new PR relationship that Google's trying to do here is give more honest answers? And do they have to scale it back to John Mueller lying to everybody again, or ignorantly giving advice that's incorrect?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And, in general, I want Google to err on this side of things. But this is probably one where, even if I was a Google employee, I would try to not do this type of reveal. Like revealing, the fundamentals of how it works is one thing. But anything where you're revealing a methodology to weaponize it, where people can use it against other people, that's one where I would feel comfortable having a line on that. And so there's other leaks in this video. Like, this isn't the only gigantic leak in that video. There's multiple. This is the one where I think it could be argued that it was a step too far.
When it comes to the stuff that's in this show, there were a ton of amazing things in it for people. So the caffeine, they define what caffeine is, and the caffeine is the thing that makes the index. So if you're ever interested, like how do things actually show up in Google, this is, the thing that defines it. And then what they're looking at, there was just a ton of stuff like that within this podcast. It was truly amazing. And Ted, for people that don't quite know, when you say the word vector, what do you mean?
The way I'm using it is it's another angle of attack for negative SEO. Like most people, the attack vector they think of when they hear negative SEO is spammy backlinks. But in past episodes, we've listed, dozens, if not hundreds, of different ways that negative SEO can manifest, and most of them do not actually rely on spammy backlinks at all. In fact, the most devastating negative SEO attacks I have encountered use slow loris attacks, which are a type of web server denial of service attack, in order to send 500 errors to Googlebot, which would then de-index the website. So there are things of that nature that can cause negative impact on your SEO for your website. And this reveal from Gary is another type of negative SEO, and it doesn't use spammy backlinks. This is a negative SEO attack that uses content on the page. And so it's the only negative SEO attack of its kind that I know of. I suppose you could try to be off topic or something, but this is de-indexing pages with content on the page. It's remarkable. So let's get into it a little bit more. So what happened was Gary said that if you have a page and you talk about 404 not found errors, if you talk about that type of thing, it can misdiagnose, Googlebot can misdiagnose the page as being a soft 404 page. A soft 404 is a web page that comes back with a response code of 200 OK, which is what all normal web pages do. But it only gives a text indicator that the page was not found. And lots of websites override the 404 behavior for a soft 404 because it can have the theme of the website, it can have dynamic upsell and suggestions, it can be a normal web page that you can otherwise redirect customers to other areas of the website to better convert. So you see a lot of soft 404 usage in like online retail, but you'll see it in other industries too. Google in general does not want to fill the index with those soft 404 pages. So even though they come back, response 200 OK, Google wants to detect the soft 404 and go, oh, we should skip those on this website. And so the way it does that is it's looking for that language of 404 not found. So in the very article on SE Roundtable, where we got this information from, I went to the discuss comments and I created a comment that says 404 page not found, and then I put it in a code block with the heading tags. So heading H1 404 not found. And then, of course, LOL, just seeing if it works. And then somebody suggested to me that I should use the actual messaging from the website itself in case it's a machine learning thing, as Googlebot crawls. So I used the actual 404 language from the website in a follow-up comment. And then Barry deleted my comments. So Barry didn't like me experimenting on his website. But some people hopped on and they help me convince Barry that it's in the public interest that we run this experiment, because if this actually works, the public ought to know. Because then, if you have a forum, if you have comments on your blog, if you have user generated content, now all of a sudden there's another thing that you need to police for. Like, we're all used to policing for inappropriate uh, content and looking for anything that might be illegal, like plagiarism, or looking for spammy posts. Now there's a new type of thing where, you need to look for people that are talking about something as innocuous as, oh, my website got a 404 page not found error. What do you guys think I should look at? Because that language is going to de-index that page. So as harmless and innocent as that comment could be, it could be a nefarious attack to take you out of search. So with that peer pressure, we applied just a little bit of peer pressure. Barry let the comment live. He's like, okay, let's see if it works. So up here, this first one, I'm just showing how it works. So on this post on SE Roundtable, I made this comment in the discuss comments. And then when I search for the phrase that I put in my discuss comment, the page, the article that discuss comment is embedded in, shows up. So it works. I search for the text in my discuss comment, and the article came up. Now, when I search for Barry, you deleted my SEO test, which is in the one with the 404 language, it doesn't come up. It comes up with this other domain that's parroting Barry's content, but it's not the article even. It's just the HTML roundup of recent comments that the HTML got lifted off of. The actual article with the discuss embed won't work on this domain because that's a credentialed integration. Won't come up. And the article itself didn't come up either. There's only one result. We de-indexed the discuss comments for that article by using that 404 language. And so that blew my mind. It actually worked. The thing to keep in mind about it is discuss is an iframe. So the comments all appear in the iframe. It didn't de-index the article. If you search for the article, it still appears. But if you search for the comments, which are an iframed URL, it's that iframed URL that got de-indexed. Now, some comment systems don't use an iframe. Like if you go to, the backlink, I believe his comment threads are all inline in the HTML. If you did a 404 not found comment on his page, it would probably be a lot more damning than just losing the discuss keywords. But the fact that it even worked just boggles my mind. This actually worked. I did go and try to test if it'll work on home pages, because there is some doubt as to whether or not Google would honor a soft 404 on a home page, and Google does not. I tested with my own property this time because it was dealing with the homepage of a website. And if your homepage is a soft 404, Google will just say, okay, that's your homepage, and let it slide. So you cannot de-index homepages with this. It must be inner pages. But it was remarkable to me that we did that. I wonder if this spangenhelm.com is another domain that Barry owns, and this is just a misconfigured web server, or if we actually found somebody that's pirating his content. But that's it's an interesting side effect of the fact that we de-indexed the comment for the page. So when we search for keywords in the comments, they don't show up for the article like the other example did. So what do you guys think of this?
Ted, one question that I have on this is, if you redirect something to your site, you end up with a whole bunch of soft 404s. Would that have any impact on any of this in terms of kind of negative SEOing yourself?
Generally, I think no, because when you create a lot of, like, you get a domain, the typical way this happens is, I have kmart.com and I buy, landsend.com. And so I point landsend.com at kmart.com and the URLs don't line up. And whenever the URLs don't line up, it's triggering the soft 404 on kmart.com. And you'll see this in the Google Search Console error logs where you get this explosion of 404 errors for URLs that make absolutely no sense for your kmart.com domain. Those are generally harmless, and Google does the right thing and says, well, those don't have any content on kmart.com, so we don't want to waste primary index allocation on those. Kmart.com has much better pages to rank instead. And so typically Google does the right thing. The problem is when that soft 404 language starts to appear on a page that you want indexed. So a customer review for a product, perhaps, then you got a serious problem, because then all of a sudden you're de-indexing a product page that's a legitimate product that has inventory. That's a really scary thought. And so product reviews, like going into Black Friday, product reviews, you need to be mindful of anyone who's putting 404 not found messaging in their product reviews. And some review systems, they might not let you delete all reviews. Like if you're using a third-party review system, it may be hard to get the control you need to ban some of the reviews you don't want seen if they use that type of language. This is potentially a big problem. I don't know for certain. I haven't looked into that e-com aspect of it, but this is definitely one of the biggest negative SEO attack vectors that we've seen in the past 10 years. It's a frightening one. I think more research needs to go into it, and definitely I think everyone needs to keep an eye out for it. One of the very minor positives of this is that reputation management has a new tool in their toolbox where they can de-index a discuss comment. So that's a new thing. They can de-index certain opinion pages that have comment threads, and so it's nice that reputation management has an extra tool in their toolbox. Unfortunately, that use case is like 1/12 of 1%, and it's going to be the black hat use that's going to make up everything else, and that's going to victimize a lot of people. And that's why I think that this type of 404 feature in Google, it wasn't well thought out in how it was implemented. Google's going to want to revisit it so that it can't be exploited. And B, I think it was probably a mistake to even mention it. Like Google knew about it internally, but that should have been an off the table one. But it's remarkable that this even worked at all. Clint, what do you think the black hat impact of this is? Has it given you ideas?
Well, I was thinking, just because you mentioned reviews, I was thinking that Yelp holds people hostage and only shows the bad reviews unless you're paying. So why not go through your listings and just leave bad reviews and soft 404 errors across Yelp and get that shit site de-indexed.
Yeah,
Save the planet.
if it only costs you one more bad review.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, I mean, there's probably going to be dozens of ways that this is going to be used for things. Some of which will be kind of benign, like just hiding, bad reviews. Some of it's going to be harmful, like taking products out of the index for Black Friday. It's kind of scary in that regard, but I think it's more important that you know about it so that you can look for it, and if you have an ability to act, you can take those components off your page in a worst case scenario. So, if it's a matter of showing reviews or being de-indexed, take those reviews off. Uh, you know, if you don't have the control to eliminate, the bad review that would get you de-indexed. Um, it's definitely something I would want to be aware of as an online retailer.
Do you think there's something you can do? Like you use the default 404 language from their website. Is there something that you could do to spin that so that every time that page was triggered, they got different content?
Well,
Because
I'm not,
and
not
the reason I ask that is because you can search for Google for soft 404, and there's plenty of pages even within their title text 404, soft 404, etc. Right? So if it 100% worked, then technically when I search for soft 404, nothing should show up.
well, the the language isn't soft 404. It's specifically the 404 page not found. Soft
Right.
404 is what we call it. And so if you put examples of soft 404 language on your page and it's an inner page, then there would be issues. There is an exception for the home page. It does not appear to work on home pages.
Right, but if you search for 404 page not found, there's pages there. It's a 404 page not found.
Yeah, and it's not a slam dunk thing. So
Right.
there are examples where it seems to get by. I don't know how those work, but there are examples where you can trigger the behavior. And this was one case, and Gary talks about other cases. And, I think he was being totally honest. And, my test on Search Engine Roundtable, it convinced me of it. So let's see. So Carolyn was thinking about it in terms of reputation management as well. So yeah, I guess unless there are any other questions or any other thoughts, we'll kind of wrap it there. Bit of a
Where would you continue testing? Because I'm thinking, obviously, WordPress sites, testing in the default comments in there, testing in content, testing sidebar stuff, to see is it the language or is it just because it says 404 page not found, or is it where are you actually placing it? Like, is it 404 page not found surrounded by an entire paragraph? It's okay, but when you have 404 page not found in a comment block and that's the only thing it says, and Google picks up on that because it's the only thing that's being said, then that's why it takes action.
Yeah, and maybe it has to be in a heading. There might be things of that nature too. We
Mhm.
don't know all these rules, and yeah, I've got other tests cooking, but they're the results of them aren't ready yet. But yeah,
What results now?
I wish my pages would index. Indexing's going pretty slow for me right now. How's it going for you, Clint?
I'm doing good.
You're getting
I got a system that's taking 3 days, 3 to 4 days to get 100% indexing. I taught the system to the guys over at Omega, and they're automating it, and that should be up and running here pretty soon.
nice. What about you, Kyle? What are you seeing indexing wise?
Well, what I did is I went out and bought some domains that had a little juice, and I've actually done pretty well getting those going and getting pages running and doing pretty well. So, yeah, I'm doing all right.
All right. Good to know. Well, let's compare testing notes in a week or two, and we'll continue this discussion when we know more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this one, of that article, this was one of maybe 6 or 7 really big drops. So if you haven't seen that interview and you're at all interested in Google leaking lots of information, I would go back and watch it. There's also a recent Martin Split YouTube video where he talks about comparable fingerprints and how to determine, duplicate pages or how dissimilar pages are. That one was also really huge on the technical leaks. So if you're looking for something, go dig up those interviews. Those were probably the best 2 interviews of the year. All right, guys, any final thoughts? Any farewells?
No, all good.
All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. See you next time.
Bye, everybody.